to the Cambridge Insider Podcast. On today's episode, Mariah and Stephen discuss how impactful studying abroad has on the future career of a student and how Cambridge Network helps to guide that. Today's episode is sponsored by Morristown Friends School. Morristown is a co-educational Quaker day school in Morristown, New Jersey, founded in 1785. It has a robust academic program serving students ages 3 through grade 12 and loves welcoming international students. Thanks for listening.
Cambridge Insider Podcast time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cambridge Insider Podcast. As per usual, my co-host, Mariah Thompson, how are you?
I am doing good. It is a cold, rainy day here in Dallas, so it could be better, but we'll take it. We'll take it.
I hear you.
How
The
about you?
northeast is beaming with sunlight.
Oh,
As we
that's
start to
good.
head into probably mid-spring and the summer that lies ahead. I think
Mhm.
from the Cambridge side, a lot of our school partners are starting to wind down the school year. Some graduations taking place, some students getting ready for summer vacation, and many of our students, as the times have progressed through COVID, are now able to go home for the first time in several years. So we are excited on their behalf that they get to share this summer holiday with family.
So good. So
Mariah,
sweet.
as per usual, because this always happens, you were the one to dig out just some great articles and some great breaking news for us. So one of the articles that we thought we'd discuss today that's just super relevant to everything that we do here at Cambridge, to all of our school partners and our students that we serve. Do you want to just sort of give us a little synopsis of exactly what that article is? And again, we'll post it in our show notes, so anybody listening to this discussion and wants to have a look at it can just click on the show notes. But do you want to give us a little idea of what the article is about?
Yeah, so IIE, which I hope I'm saying it right, but it looks like that's what it is, is an organization that we follow, that we get a lot of our updates when it comes to international education market, what's going on for study abroad, things like that. They have really good information. They have really good articles that help support our mission. And recently in February, they released an article called Study Abroad, Experimental Learning and Skills Development, Creating the Global Mindset That Will Take You Far. And it really just dives into what the benefits of studying abroad are for governments, local communities, and future employers. And it also just like emphasizes that for future employers specifically, the things that they are seeing that students who study abroad, whether it be short-term and long-term, of course, the long-term being more developed, so you see it more there. They're seeing that these types of students have these attributes that they're gaining and experience that they're learning that make really good qualities that they're looking for their future employers. So that's what this article is about. And so I just think it was just really interesting because it allows us to think bigger when it comes to international education. Not only is it beneficial to like just the closeness community of the student, like of course studying internationally is going to change the life of that student, but it also has the potential to change our communities around too. So it's a really interesting article.
Absolutely love it. I had a great read through it, and I think it's so relevant right now because we are really seeing that trend of international education like really take the spotlight again, similar to what we
Yeah.
saw, 6, 7, 8 years ago when it was such a big thing. And I think it's moved on, right? A little bit in terms of it used to just be, this is a great economic platform for a school to get involved in. This is a great way to add diversity, is what we would usually say. But we've dug deep and we've done more research. And I think thinking about what future employers see in students that have studied abroad. But also, if we think on the flip side of that, if I'm an American student and my family or family friends that I know host an international student, that diverse perspective, right? Now I get to interact with somebody who maybe thinks about the world a little bit differently, and how that develops me and how that develops my opinion and makes me aware of different ways of thinking, I think is so incredibly important. And not just to speak of on a broader level than that as well, right? The economic impacts, not just for schools and communities, but the economic impacts for states and for countries as a whole. So I absolutely love this article. So I was reading through it, and I know that you're involved in so many different aspects of Cambridge life. How does this and what we see in this article and the sort of premise of this article, how does that sort of, how is Cambridge prioritizing a lot of that in the services that we offer? We offer so many diverse and a broad spectrum of services. How is that sort of translated?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I started this company 3 years ago. So I have been seeing how we just function and how we better ourselves to follow the trends of international education. And when I first started, we had something called CUP, and it was just these classes that will help enhance students. And as COVID hit, and we're just seeing all these different changes, it's really unique and cool to see Cambridge as a company is moving along with those trends. They're not just staying at these like simple resource classes for a student. They really want to be the best service that we can give to our students, our schools, our host families, and natural parents. And so by doing that over the last couple of years, we've launched Cambridge Care, which before I was in this position, I was a part of the development of Cambridge Care. So I do know a little bit about the history of it and like what their mission is for it. But like it just is, the staff that we have for Cambridge Care is always looking to better the resources we have, to really support this idea that jobs are looking for people who are going to be great leaders. They're looking for people that have built confidence, and they're looking for people that are just well versed in culture and diversity. But for an international student, that could be hard because they're coming to a new country and the culture is different, and they need a little bit extra more support to get to that level that maybe someone who is here just domestically, like they don't have the language barrier, they don't have the cultural differences. They need someone that can come alongside them and help them through that so they can achieve that leadership level that they're looking to have, and that a lot of these international students do already have. They just need a mentor and a guide, and peers that are in the same boat to kind of get them through that. And CARE has really done that. In the last year and a half, they focused on leadership. So through student council, and something they called student voices. And it really just allows the students to own their voice, own their culture, and then put it to practical use within through schools, whether it be even helping us too with different marketing things. These kids are learning so much about the process of how to find their voice, how to be organized, how to stay on top of a schedule. And they're all learning that through the CARE services. So, that aspect of the article, when it's talking about leadership, CARE is really, if the student is just willing, and the parents and the host parents are also supportive of it too, like this student is getting more than just an international education. They're getting mentors, and they're getting almost like free internship, like just this all access knowledge pool from people that are just wanting to help them. So that aspect it for the leadership, CARE is doing a really good job in it. And then something that some people might not know about too is this, like in the article, it's talking about experimental learning. The CARE services also provide a virtual event every month, and the things that the people they've brought in is so cool. They had a guy like a couple months ago he gave a TED talk, like an actual TED talk about AI, and he developed all robotics that we see that are happening in the country all over. And he's a friend of one of our Cambridge employees, and he was more than happy to partner with us and to teach our students these things. We've also had a game developer, which is really cool for students. So there's just like all these opportunities that come to no extra cost to our schools, no extra cost to our students. It's just a part of our services. But if they could just utilize it, and it just enhances them. So I feel like it's a no-brainer, but it's really cool that they're doing these things.
Mariah, let me ask you then, and you may not have the answer, but are we seeing that schools are encouraging students to get involved in CARE, or would we like our schools to be more active in the process of going, hey, I know about Cambridge Care. It's awesome. You need to get involved.
I would say there's probably a handful of schools that are into it. We also do a connecting communities event that is partners with CARE, and we have some consistent schools that attend and prioritize it. So we do see some schools. Those are the schools that are typically their kids are thriving in CARE.
Mm.
But I would say for the most part, to be honest, no. Like I don't think our schools, and that could be a fault of just not knowing what's out there. Also, we know that your plates are full, so we get that too. But I really do think that some of the issues that schools are seeing with international students, CARE could really be a resource and a help to them. So it would help them in the long run by just encouraging the students. It will help them with the issues coming for the international students. Well, whether they're having emotional issues and they're not adjusting well to the culture, or they just need more friends and that they're not making friends at school. CARE is just a great way for them to use it. So I know it seems probably to schools it seems like, oh, I just can't add another thing to do, but it will save them time in the long run for
Yeah.
potential issues that could happen with international
Yeah,
students.
I think it's so vital, right? So you and me discussed this a little bit before jumping on this recording, but I think sometimes schools view, as they rightly should, international recruitment as we need to meet a certain number, and then that's the big goal of our international program, because that automatically adds that diversity from a financial aspect for a school. It's great to be, have a good number of international students. It keeps us financially viable. I think sometimes schools forget that when you have students that are well supported, number one, you no longer have to give as many resources to making sure that those students are okay as a school community. Number two, when you have students that are well supported, that are getting these additional services, that are learning, that are thriving, that are ultimately being successful, guess what? That student's going to walk away from his 3-4 years at that school, go back to their home country, go back to their hometown, and be outspoken about the incredible experience. And that is the marketing that we get for free when we have a successful student that graduates that's worth gold. We can put as much on social media. We can have as many live events as we want. If we have a student success story and that student has thrived because of services like CARE that have allowed them to thrive, and other services within their school, that student goes home, they tell an agent, they tell a family member, they tell a friend, and we have 3 or 4 people that now know about your school and your wonderful school program. And in turn, we see those people come back and enroll, or a friend of theirs comes back and enroll, or a cousin comes back and enroll, or the agent goes, I sent little Johnny there and he had the best time of his life. So as an agent, I know if I send another student there, that student's going to have an incredible time and I don't have to worry about the service that I've provided. So I do want schools as well. When we talk about, we want schools to be involved. We want them to push the idea of these great services that students can get, for free and can make use of. I want them to also think a little longer term and go, this is a service that's not only going to benefit the student, this is a service that's going to do my school brand and my international program so much good as well. So
I think something else too that CARE can help too is host recruitment. If your student is well supported, they're probably going to respond better in the home, cause less issues in the home, and that will keep retention for your host pool to want to keep hosting. But then also, if they enjoy it so much, they're probably going to tell their friends about it too. You know what I mean? So it's just like the more we support our students and have them healthy, it's just healthy environment everywhere. You make a healthy classroom, you can help them support the healthy household, and it'll just help. That's all.
They say, what's that saying? They say a tired dog is a happy dog. I always feel like a busy teenager is a good teenager, right? Because there's less time for them to just get involved in things that maybe are not great things. Whereas if you're getting them involved in programs like this, they're walking away with a lot of great content and a lot of great experiences, but they're busy and they're engaged and they're building a community and they're making friends. And I agree with you that for the host experience can only lead to positive things. You have a student that's engaged, that wants to be there. And I think you have hosts that are so much happier with what they're getting as an end product. I did want to mention really quickly before I forget this. You spoke about you being involved in the CARE program and developing that program. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your first appearance on the Cambridge Insider podcast pre you being the amazing host that you are right now, was talking about care.
Yeah.
Is my memory not failing me here?
Yeah. I kind of got my foot. I became a student development manager when we had those positions, and just got my foot in the door. And so I've always done like volunteer work with teenagers. So the idea of creating support has always just been a passion of mine. And something I was just thinking about as we were talking is that there's a statistic about healthy teenagers thriving post graduation, like how they will handle post graduation, is if they have 7 adults in their life. Now, it doesn't mean like they're necessarily like talking all the time to this adult, like they have 7 mentors, but they need to have 7 stable adult connections that they trust. That research allows them to thrive when they go into college and stuff because they have someone they can call back. And a 7 seems significant, but it's not, because if you think of an international student, they have their host parents. Typically, it's either 2 or 1, so that's 2 touches. They have their natural parents, which is another touch. They go to care, they have 2 or 3 touches there, and then they have their school. So it's just like, in a place where teenagers need this, it's just another opportunity for us to help them be successful post graduation too. And
Absolutely.
so creating things like this for all students, even if you're thinking domestically, you're like, oh, like, because this statistic isn't for international students, it's
Mm.
for all teenagers. So if you're also thinking like, I need to make sure that my students are thriving, I need to get them in front of more people than just my own voice. Like they need to connect with their volleyball coach. They need to connect with their art teacher, whoever that person is. We need to create resources for these students to have people that can help kind of like shepherd them through life. Like you can't get through life without community. So we just have to try to create places for students to feel safe and to have relationship and have adults that care about them.
As we
So
run out of Sorry,
yeah,
I just
you
wanted
got
to
it.
quickly, one final thing as we run out of time. Is it available to domestic students as well, Cambridge Care?
So we're not opposed to it because we all of course believe that our partner schools are our partners, you know? So if there is something that you're seeing that CARE is offering that would really benefit your domestic students, just send us an email and we'll
Yeah,
say like, oh yeah, this would be appropriate, because we do have some things that are specific to English as a second language, things like that.
yes.
So I don't think every aspect of CARE, but like if there is a robotics class that we're offering, or there's a cultural diversity training that you think students should be a part of too, like yeah, like the more the merrier. It's just about community, and it's bigger than just a class. Like the
Mhm.
more the merrier. So yeah, we make it
Absolutely.
sense for your program, but if domestic students in the end schools feel the need, we will definitely work with you.
Yeah, yeah, we've got so much
Hmm.
expertise to share. Mariah, I can only say thank you. A
Hmm.
robust discussion, I think, is the best way to describe what we've
Hmm.
just had. I'm excited about this. If you want more information, we did that episode several months ago about care, but please just reach out. Reach out to us at Cambridge, and we can definitely provide more, insight into care as a program, how you can get involved, how you can get your students involved. And we'd love school support. And I think on the flip side, it can really make your program thrive, both on the marketing perspective, but
Yeah.
also just the general health of your students and your program as a whole. Mariah, any final thoughts as we say goodbye on this beautiful, at least in the Northeast, spring afternoon?
Yeah, just be on the lookout for always the care updates. There's host webinars that are for host teams if you're a host parent looking for some resources. I'll put in the show notes too. We had at our last Connecting Communities event, we had Care do a little spiel on what they're doing currently, but what they're launching for next year. They're going to be doing some cultural training for schools. So this will be really helpful to you. So I'll post it in there so you can hear more about it. But that's it.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
As always, to all of our listeners, we appreciate you. Remember to like, listen, and subscribe. Invite a friend to come and listen with you the next time you switch the Cambridge Insider podcast on. And we'll catch you around the next episode of the Cambridge Insider podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Cambridge Insider podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss an episode. For more Cambridge updates, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Have a great week and stay connected.